a city in Sydney, Australia. Off the top, I apologize for this weird video jitter here. I usually have optical stabilization turned off on my camera, but for some reason the setting was turned back on. I'm not sure why that was. I hope it isn't too distracting on some of these clips. So I went down to my local train station here to catch the train to the Central train station, and then from there I take another train down to the Sydney Harbor. So here we are pulling away from the station, and the weather today was just perfect. It wasn't too hot, not too cold. It was overcast, so there was no harsh sunlight, but it was still nice and bright outside, no rain. Pretty much the perfect day weather-wise, in my opinion. But here we are, pulling into Central Station in downtown. Well, downtown, they call it the CBD, the Central Business District of Sydney, Australia. Coming down the elevator here, escalator rather, coming out of that train station, or that embarkment point out here into the main part of the station. As you can see, there's an absolutely massive building going off in both directions, and even more underground. But I ran over there just to get that shot, and then I'm coming up here to Station 16 to catch the second train that I need to hop on to go further into the city. And you'll see a lot of people with suitcases, luggage, things like that, because there are, of course, a lot of tourists coming to Sydney at the moment since it's summer here. Look at all those people with luggage on that other side of the tracks. But here is the second train that I need to catch. And one of the differences here living in Australia compared to when I lived in the States, there is quite a bit of public transportation. It is not as good as the public transportation in Japan, not even close, but much better and more convenient than the options I had available to me in the United States, that's for sure. But finally, we are here. We are at the Sydney Harbor. I just tap out there, and right ahead of me, as you can see, is Hungry Jack's, which is, of course, our version of Burger King, because I think Burger King was already a restaurant here. And you can see those wharves. There's actually ferries that you can catch from and to and from these wharves to go to different parts of the city by water. And I noticed right there, there's this huge cruise ship in the distance, so I had to take a closer look at this. It is called the Queen Elizabeth, and let me look that up and see what cruise line that is, because I'm not sure. Queen Elizabeth cruise ship, that is Cunard Cruise Line. I've never heard of that before, actually. I've never heard of that cruise line. It seems like it might be a luxury line compared to like a Carnival or Royal Caribbean. And of course there's the Harbor Bridge off there in the background just behind that magnificent ship. But here, this caught my eye. This Gotcha capsule toy station has reminded me a lot of being back in Tokyo, and these are even like authentic Gotcha toys. I really liked those cats. I thought those were really cute. And look at these sushi, like monster looking things. I didn't end up getting any of them, but I was definitely tempted. And of course you have anime and some other things like that available to you. I'm walking now. There's that train leaving the station. There's another wharf some people waiting around to catch the boat, to catch the ferry. There's some sightseeing ferries that will leave there just to take you around a little tour of the bay, but then some of them are like in overwater public transportation, which I haven't used yet, but I do want to use it in the future. And there, right there's another great shot of the bridge. You can see the big stone pillars, I guess, ballasts, I'm not sure what you would call those. And then these stairs were really cool. These are really old stairs, and look at how they've been worn down by footsteps over the years. You can see they have an irregular like shape to them because they've just been worn down underfoot year after year. And there's this plaque, more stairs open September 9th, 1868. Been there for a very long time, but there it is. The most famous icon of Australia, the Sydney Opera House, in all of its glory. And my mom actually pointed this out to me. They kind of look like Spanish military helmets, if you know what I'm talking about. Once she pointed out, I couldn't unsee it. Another great shot of the bridge there, panning over. There are the Spanish helmets. I don't think you're allowed inside of the Opera House, of course, unless you have tickets or something like that. But inside it is absolutely massive. There are multiple concert halls. You have, of course, concerts, musicals, stage plays, orchestras, things like that, all performing. And then this was really interesting. This guy out here on this little, I don't know what you'd call this, maybe a barge fishing. And you can see this is actually moving up and down with the water. You can see those poles out there that it's kind of built around. It has those little metal supports around those poles, so it's kind of like a buoy, sort of. I'm not sure what the technical term for the structure is, but this guy was out there fishing. I didn't really think there'd be fish in this part of the water, but there you go. And I saw this military ship off in the distance. There's a closer look at it. I have no idea what that ship could be. If you have any idea, let me know in the comments. But here is the Royal Botanical Garden. In my opinion, this is a much nicer, more beautiful attraction than the Opera House, but from what I could tell, this area was a little bit less frequented, not as busy as the Opera House area. But this is an absolutely beautiful park, and there's my favorite icon of Australia, the ibis, the bin chicken. I think they're just very funny and interesting birds. And look at this tree. I've never seen a tree like this before. I had to get a shot at this because beautiful tree. And that building there, which looks like it's been cut in half, kind of. Every time I see that building, it kind of is like an optical illusion. India has some more foliage here, some trees and bushes and flowers, and this whole area is free entry. It's very serene, very quiet. You have a really old bench there, and like I said, like, as you can see, this was in the middle of the day around 1 p.m. and there was hardly anybody in this park with me. Whereas, the harbor area where the Opera House is and all that was far busier and noisier. So in my opinion, this is kind of a nicer tourist area. You can sit down and relax. There's a couple different attractions you can go inside of in this area. I personally didn't for this video, but there's a lot of stuff that right there, the Calyx, that's one of the things you can go inside of, and it is actually free as well, although they do encourage you to give a donation. And I found these stairs here, and look at these. You have these beautiful statues on either side of the stairs. can't see it on the video, but they were actually labeled with the seasons: summer, winter, fall, spring. So that was kind of interesting, a statue representing the different seasons of the year. And then once we got up here to the top, there's even more statues. These statues of these two children here. That one holding, what is that, like a harp or something? And then look at the water on this fountain. It is so blue. I'm not sure if that's the water or maybe the bottom of the fountain itself. We have a little cherub angel there. And then this fountain, this one is breathtaking in my opinion. You have this big fountain here, and there's this guy at the top, and it says Captain Arthur Philip RN, which I think means Royal Navy. First Governor of New South Wales from 1788 to 1792. 60th year of the reign of Her Majesty Queen Victoria, so quite an old statue. This was unveiled while Queen Victoria was still alive. There's Neptune there, which if you saw my Greek gods video, you know all about him. So I think, okay, these are all Greek gods, but then this says agriculture, or Roman gods rather, but it's like, oh, we have Neptune, but then we have agriculture. That's not the name of a god. And then, but here we have Cyclops, who seemingly has both eyes. So maybe that was just an incorrect personification of him, I'm not sure. But then here is Commerce, but she's holding that snake staff, which usually means like health and healing. I'm not sure. Here is the public library. Look at this building. Can you imagine going into that building to check out some books? Like, what a beautiful space. I noticed that statue over there, but I couldn't get any closer to it because it was in the middle of the road, obviously, but an absolutely beautiful library building. I had to come over here and get a little bit closer to it. See those big Roman-style pillars. Beautiful architecture, kind of reminds me of the White House a little bit. And another statue here, Lieutenant General Sir Richard Bourke, KCB, which I don't know what that means, but he's holding a sword there. He has some nice tassels, a very fancy coat. Kept on walking and I found the Sydney Hospital, and for some reason a statue of a boar. If you have any idea of what the significance of a boar would be for a hospital, please let me know because I couldn't figure it out. Off in the distance there you can see the towers of St. Mary's Cathedral, which I do end up going into later, of course, but first I decide, because I go into here, the Hyde Park Barracks, which as you can see from the sign were built in the year 1819, and this is such a beautiful part of the city. It's so old and serene and peaceful. You can see this big building here, these, built in 1819. And I really enjoy just walking around this part of the city. Like, I could just be around this area for hours, I'm gonna be honest with you. Look at that tree there. Inside the barracks, a little museum. Here's part of that museum. And there I am. You can see me recording and give a little wave. You can see here, this is what life in Australia was like when the English first arrived. You can see the indigenous people there. There are some British soldiers and some, women outside their house. So it's a really nice little exhibit. I didn't record all of it there, but it just kind of shows what life was like in Australia in the 1800s. But we're coming up now on approach to St. Mary's Cathedral. And there is St. Mary of the Cross on that statue. She's talking to some children. And you have this monument here, which I think is really cool. It says, "Symbol of gratitude from the Armenian community to St. Mary's Cathedral commemorating the celebration of Mass for the centenary of the Armenian Genocide in 2015. So the church did a little thing showing the Armenian Genocide and honoring, well, not honoring that, but you know what I'm saying? There's Pope John Paul the Great. And now we come inside of St. Mary's Cathedral. It's become a bit of a tourist attraction, but it is an absolutely gorgeous church. Here's the inside up towards the altar, and just look at those columns. There's a statue of Mary with some candles lit for prayers, another shot of the altar. And it's just a beautiful, peaceful space. I love being inside that cathedral. I could just sit in there all day. It's very peaceful. There's the outside. As you can see, a lot of tourists there, but inside it's so quiet and calm and peaceful. It's very interesting. Like I said, I could spend all day just inside the cathedral. There's the Westfield Tower out in the distance. As I'm walking through Hyde Park, look at this fountain. Speaking of Greek gods, up on top there we have Apollo with his golden lyre. There's his twin sister Artemis with her bow and a deer that she has killed. I'm not sure who this is here with the goats. If you have any idea of who this could be, let me know. I thought maybe Hephaestus, but I figured they'd probably have him with like a blacksmithing anvil or something like that. And then there on the right side is Hercules slaying the Minotaur. So really another beautiful fountain with some Greek iconography. But now we're coming more towards the shopping area of Sydney. As you can see, there's a Fendi there, David Jones off to my right, a Louis Vuitton store, and yeah, you know, compared to the church and the barracks and the park, this part's a lot louder, a lot busier, a lot less peaceful, you could say, especially here, going towards the main shopping mall area. I noticed this crowd gathering watching this guy, so I came up to see what he was doing, but I sat here for a couple minutes and I didn't really see him do anything. I'm not sure what that was all about, but at this point in the day I was super hungry. I left the house at like 9 o'clock and it was getting close to 1:30 p.m. at this point. And I'd been out walking around all day and riding the trains. I was pretty hungry. I hadn't eaten yet, so I came down. There's this huge food court underneath this store here with a lot of different options. But there's one place down here I've had before that has absolutely incredible food at a really good price, and there it is. It's a beef teriyaki danbo. We got rice, beef teriyaki, some shredded eggs, some noodles, carrots, beans, pickled cabbage. It's really, really good. And I got a vanilla Coke as well. But now we're coming into the Queen Victoria building. This is, if you're claustrophobic, then don't come here because this is super packed, busy shopping mall. Very narrow because it is a very old building. Obviously being named after Queen Victoria, it's a very old building. So it wasn't really built to handle the level of foot traffic it gets today, but look at those windows up there. Because the building is so old, there are some beautiful facades, and look at this old elevator they've got here. You know, this thing is definitely not the newest elevator in existence. Obviously it does update electronics and stuff like that, but you know, it's just a nice building. This whole area of the city's just very nice. I wish I could afford to live in this part of the city, to be honest. And here we're going up because one of my favorite stores I've ever been in is up here, but first look at this clock. As you can see, it also has a date, time thing, and by point of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, right there on the clock. This lady was playing piano, and she was very, very good. There was a pretty decent crowd of people watching her, but here we go, Hobby Go, my favorite store in this mall, maybe in Australia, that I found so far. There's some sale things here, some knockoff Lego block kits. All this just for $5 here. I found this 1,000-piece puzzle of New York City, but decided against it. And then this looks ridiculous, Milwaukee Bucks Pac-Man for $5. Coming into the store, as you can see, there's just so much stuff. There's some Dungeons and Dragons supplements here, some model airplanes, and this store is 2 or 3 levels of all just different hobby materials. And this caught my eye, the Shining Gundam Master Grade. This is my favorite Gundam, and for the longest time there was only a high grade Gunpla of this Gundam. Now there's a Master Grade. I didn't end up getting it today, but in the future I'm just definitely on my buy list because I've already built the high grade, so doing the Master Grade now is a must. As you can see, they have this large Gundam statue in the store. Tons of Gunpla kits everywhere. And then some anime statues here. Some My Hero stuff. That Vash the Stampede caught my eye, but it's the old design. Trigun is one of my favorite animes of all time, but I do not like the new remake of Trigun. Renkiku Matsumoto in a very revealing outfit. There's Cable, Genderbent Loki, all sorts of different ones, but look at these. These caught my eye. Blue Eyes White Dragon. And I don't think that's Dark Magician. I think that might be Chaos Sorcerer. I'm not sure. And look at this gallery. This caught my eyes. I was walking through the art of Dr. Seuss. This is a limited time art gallery. And you can see some of the sketches that Dr. Seuss did, and then how they translated into the final book. If you just look at that one, look at how different it is. This one especially, Sam I Am. Probably my favorite Dr. Seuss book, Green Eggs and Ham. But I'm done in the UVP now. It was far too busy for me. I always feel a little bit overwhelmed in this building, to be honest with you. There's just so many people and such a little space, and it can just be kind of a lot to deal with sometimes. So I kind of just go in there knowing the stores I want to go to those stores, and then leave. Going to that Dr. Seuss art gallery was kind of an exception that I made. So yeah, I'm like, alright, well, let's get out of here. And we're gonna go look at this. I did not know this was here. This Lego store. I don't know how long this has been here. Look at this tree of Kookaburra, Cockatoo, Koala. So Australia themed. And they have this, and this got my right here, this Tranquil Garden Lego set. But I didn't end up getting any because Lego's just so expensive these days. If I was gonna buy anything, it would have been that Shining Gundam Gunpla. So I was like, well, if I'm not buying that, I'm not buying Lego. I noticed this little thing on the ground commemorating this guy, and then here's a statue of Queen Victoria. There she is holding her scepter. And right underneath the statue is this little plaque that I'll show you. There it is, Queen Square, 1888. That was put there in the ground, but it's time now for me to go home, so this is the Town Hall train station. That is where I had walked myself to. As you can see, this is not as busy as Central or the train station I got off on. Still decently busy, but tap on there, boom, go right on through. And there's, lots of platforms here, and then even an express platform that takes you right to the airport. Look at all these people going to work, going home, whatever they're doing. Of course, I had to get a drink because I'd been out here all day. I had a water bottle with me, but I had to finish that off, and I was feeling a little bit tired, so I had to go for, I had to do it to him one time. The classic green monster, often replicated, never beaten. So, I came here to Town Hall, got on the train home, and that was my day. So I hope you guys enjoyed this trip with me into the Sydney city. Obviously we didn't see everything today, it's a huge city, but I hope you saw things interested you. If you liked the video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this almost every single